All right, son of a gun, if we aren't at another Flipping Houses for Rookies podcast. 422, by the way, Mr. Coca-Cola.
What? Bill, it's not possible. I'm not old enough to have done that.
I'm surprised. I know that you mentioned it a week or so ago, a podcast or two ago, but about not being a rookie anymore. I figure after 422 podcasts, maybe you're right.
Yeah. I'm not into titles. I'm into success.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. So podcast number 422. Here is the title of today's podcast. Why creative real estate sellers are different in today's economy. Here is the description. Imagine being able to turn every conversation with a real estate seller podcast. No, that's not right because they're not doing podcasts. I'm going to start over again. Imagine being able to turn every conversation with a real estate seller prospect into a potential gold mine. And we are not talking about the run-of-the-mill old era tactics. No. After careful observation and proven testing, this is new and exciting. Today, we are going to reveal these novel strategies so you too can unpack a seller's hidden motivation that the seller may not even know they had. And the best part, this recently developed technique reduces resistance before it even surfaces. So say bye-bye to all those objection and rebuttal handlings. See, no two sellers are alike, which is why scripts can be challenging and is why this simplistic but advanced approach needed to be seeked out. Bottom line is, in an economy where standard approaches fall flat, you need an edge. And if you listen today, you will be mentally equipped and mastering what most do not know. Don't let another deal slip through your fingers. The market is waiting for you. If you just listen today, you will be more equipped. Then you be more equipped than you ever had been before. So let's get started. I cut the sentence short. So, Peter, before I do my housekeeping, I want to make an announcement.
Dun, 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 dun. Announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Mr. Hawthorne with an announcement.
Thank you. So, we are, meaning we is me at this point, because that's all that's doing it.
Well, it's me, myself, and I then.
But it will be more of us as we go through it.
Okay.
But today is the official... I've launched the private podcast platform. It is the beginning of the end of this podcast. I don't know when that's going to be or how long it's going to be. But in the description, there is a link for the private podcast, the first private podcast. Okay. So the best thing to do is I have it on our own app. So you have to download the app. But the software shows you how to do all of that. So I wanted to let everybody know that in the description, there is a free podcast that is there for you waiting. I forgot the name of it. It's like how to make gargantuan profits before you close deals or something like that. It's a pretty good podcast. I've done it before. I've done it on email. It's pretty popular. So it's a great tool. I'm hoping that once we go over from this podcast to the other, that we can even go deeper than what we've been doing on this podcast. Now, realize that this podcast is kind of a public podcast, and even though I give away way more information than everybody else, I can do even better. So on the private podcast platform, we will be doing some episodes for that go deep, kind of like a little bit more on the coaching line so that you can get things going. Okay. So make sure if you're listening to us right now or watching us, make sure you hit the subscribe button make sure you hit the like button, and make sure you go into the description and click on the link there and get registered into the private podcast. Once we're registered there, then you'll be able to just go there every week or whenever you want, because they'll be all stacked up there, and listen whenever you feel like. Okay, so you don't have to go looking for us on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever on a podcast platform or wherever you want. So, are you okay there? You keep moving things around and making noises.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just trying to adjust my my stand here.
So that's all I'm going to say for housekeeping today. All right, Pete. Let's start by announcing this episode works very well with the last episode that we recorded, which is episode number 421, and it was called The Ultimate Barrier to Every Creative Real Estate Deal. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We started that episode off by talking about your seller is never the problem. Never, never, never the problem. And that the creative real estate entrepreneur are the ultimate barrier to every deal. And we covered it there, right? So we covered some untalked about, probably isn't a popular podcast because it's in your face type of thing. But if you can have thick skin for the 60 minutes that we do the podcast, I think you'll come out a better person.
Yeah.
Right. We brought to surface the 4 or 5 arguments for our rookie entrepreneurs to chew on. In other words, I just didn't say, "Oh, shame on you, you piece of crap, you've been doing this wrong." I put it like in a court environment and said, the next person on the stand is, and I think we brought about 4 or 5 factual, actual things that I run into, which, by the way, I'm a very, 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 very fortunate man. I feel very fortunate because I talk to so many people and I have so many connections. Used to be I would kind of resist that, like, for example, this morning I started my day at 7:30 this morning with a brand new coaching client that is got 2 deals.
Wow.
And they're like asking me what paperwork and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's all in the system. I'm not sure why he's not getting it there. I don't usually give that much attention to someone, but he's got to get a couple deals. So, in any event, all I'm saying is my point to bringing this up is that the stuff that we talk about here is not my opinion. This is not what I think. This is not something that is made up by Bill. Now, yeah, I make up names and I make up words to describe them. But the truth is when you work with so many people for a very long time, after a while, things just pop out at you. Okay. And I'm going to tell you right now, point blank, as serious as I could be, because I've probably said this in the past, but podcast number 423, which is the next podcast, is, as far as I'm concerned, the best podcast we will ever do. It's a industry disruptor.
Oh.
It is a new way to look at the industry and how to make money, because I don't know how I figured it out. It just was something that happened a week or 2 ago. It just popped in my head because I was doing a webinar and I was answering questions, and it became so simple to me. I have no idea how that happened, but it happened. But when you do like what I do, and you write a lot, you write emails and blog posts and podcasts, and you write about the same content over, not the same content, but the same concepts over and over again, they tend to get very simple.
That's true.
And it's what I hope to bring to this podcast. This podcast was intended to change your thinking, not your doing this. I think the private podcast is going to be more about changing your doing this.
That's cool.
So that's what I'm hoping to do, right? So enough of that. But today I'm going to talk about what we're going to do is we brought to surface these 4 or 5 arguments in podcast number 421. And today I'm going to one up those ideas and reveal some very, very, very interesting but altering facts on how we should be treating sellers today. Okay. So I think you and I have been doing this and don't know we're doing it. But I've kind of, I've extracted some, as they say, I articulated it. Articulating means I extracted my observations and I put it in writing so it's easy to understand. What the biggest thing about today's podcast is I noticed that what we had done in the past doesn't work today. Okay. For example, one of our older models of talking to sellers and getting deals was doing presentations. Remember the presentation pack?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Go to the house, sit down, drive half an hour, sit there for an hour, drive home half an hour, a couple hours.
Right.
To see what would happen.
Yeah, we had our old presentation packs under our arm. Mine is still in my car. Right? I have it in the back seat of my car just in case I got to go make an appointment.
Oh. Wow.
And you've been to appointments with me. How many times do I keep it on my arm and I never open it?
Oh yeah, you're walking around with it. You're holding your phone. You're holding that. You're on airplane mode. You're recording. They think you're just walking around aimlessly. You got all these tools in your hands.
Yep. And we'd sit in houses and make deals on the kitchen table or in the living room.
Yep.
Telling stories.
Oh yeah, I knew a guy once. Never mind.
But today, our seller doesn't want to hear stories about us. Right? They only care about solving their own problems and how fast we can do it. And I thought it was because we were a bunch of old bastards, boomers. I thought that's what it was, but it's not really that. I had to break through that really? Social veneer. Yeah, it's not really that.
But Bill, that's my best excuse.
Yeah, I get it. Excuse being an exclusive word there.
Yeah, that's the one word you hear.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So nowadays we are least persuasive when we tell sellers things, like when we're talking at them, right? Or attempt to dominate them, or posture them.
How about sell them?
Yeah. Or even try to manipulate their ideas. Right? I mean, my daughter Emma worked for me for what, 5 or 6 years?
Yeah.
She graduated from a college as a tech person. What is her degree? Software engineer or something like that. Tech engineer or something like that. She got a degree.
Yeah.
Right? And she'd sit at the other end of my desk and I'd say to her, Em, I got an idea. I want to do this. And she would look at me and say, you can't do that, Dad. Why not? Look, and I flipped my computer on. I saw this guy do like this little piece of it, like a quarter of what I had in my head. If he could do that, then why can't we figure the rest out? And she would be resistant for a day or two sometimes. And sure enough, there's things like Creative REI Reply that is the only system on the market that does everything that it does. We are releasing, it may not be this week, but next week, we've added to Creative REI Reply DocuSign.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know where you can go to get leads put in your account every single day. They get texted with the appropriate messages based on what type of a lead they are. Right. So in other words, we're matching the message to the media or message to the market, which is the seller. So if they're for sale by owner, they get one. If they're, out of area owner, they get another message. Right. And then when the seller texts back, we answer the text for you via our robot. And the text makes an appointment for you. Then you get on the phone with our script, which has proven to be outrageous because I'm telling you, we have hundreds of users in there, and every Thursday night I do a service call, and it's amazing how many people come on the call with deals. right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get on the phone, use the script, use our calculator, Creative Real Estate Calculator, and the calculator tells you like a stoplight, whether it's a red, green, or yellow deal. When you're all done with your numbers and the seller says yes, you push a button and it sends the documents for them to sign. Up until today, we've only had the memorandum, but now they decide to do the deal, even subject to paperwork, all the paperwork.
Really?
The only paperwork that we don't do is seller financing, because those are notes that are done in individual states. And I have an example of one that you can give an attorney, but we can't do that manually. Everything else we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then
Crazy.
once we get the deal, it's literally, I mean, the first time when you never did it before, it takes you 15 minutes to put your house in our deal selling machine. 15 minutes. After that, it probably takes you 5 or 8 minutes to put a house on the market. I mean, I don't know of any software that's doing that right now. And if I have a listener that knows of software that's doing that, please send me an email or go to flippinghousesforrookies.com or creativereply.com. Go in the help thing and send me the link, because I'm dying to see it. To see it, because I don't know of any other software on the market that does this. My point is this is how I got this far, is by doing the unusual. So the reason for this little rant here is this is how people think when we talk to them. Just like me, I think, well, if he's saying that he could do that, I wonder if there's other people that can do it. Or if I wonder there's another way that he can do it. And they go on ChatGPT, or they go on Google, or they go on Claude, or they go on Ask, all these AI tools, right? Or they go on Perplexity, any one of these AI tools, right? And they start asking questions, and they're asking who else does this, or how does it work?
Really, you think the sellers are that savvy now
Yeah.
that they're looking for that kind? They're being that much inquisitive. Wow, even older people.
I don't think all of them are, but a lot of them are. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there's too much information right now. That's what we're up against.
Yeah.
So what's changed is there's a massive difference today between, now listen to this language, there's external pressure and internal tension. So obviously external pressure is what we used to do with our presentation model. Now I know I keep coming off the script, but I need to stop for a second, and I need to just tell you a very strong opinion of mine, okay, which is, if you listen to me a lot, I do it a lot. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get everything I can onto the airwaves so people can think with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It is absolutely, positively the most ridiculous, stupidest, idiotic, absolute dumbest thing I have ever seen in my entire life.
What?
So it used to be, and we're going to talk about this in podcast number 423. It used to be that the realtor had the buyers and sellers locked up. They were in their MLS, their multiple listing service.
Yep.
Now, in the 90s, I think MLS came out in 93 or 94. It was the hottest thing because they were online. Right? Now, God knows why. Well, I do know why, but I'm not going to be accusative. But NAR, the National Association of Realtors, which they're getting sued for this, which is how I figured this out, because otherwise I would never know this. If you read the articles about how they're getting sued for racketeering, this is the reason why.
Yep.
They own a company called Move.com. Move.com is an influencer. It influences Zillow. It owns sites like Redfin, Realtor.com, right? It owns these other websites. Right?
The websites we look at for information.
For comps.
For comps.
The reason why they're getting sued for racketeering is because those sites are holding the comparables higher. And the reason why they're holding them higher is so that the realtor sells for a higher number.
Yeah.
And they get more commission. It also means, if you pull the curtain back, that the banker lends more money, which means higher fees, and it means more interest for them.
Yeah.
So it's totally a racketeering type of environment. The part that I don't understand is how they didn't calculate that it was going to shoot them in the foot. Because their buyers and sellers are no longer under lock and key. You say it all the time. When your son was looking for a house, he found his house by searching the internet.
Yep.
Called his realtor and said, I want to go look at this one.
Yep.
So what does he need?
Yeah, what does he need him for?
The lockbox code. That's it.
Yeah. Go knock on the door, talk to the lady, you know?
Right. So I don't understand why this is happening in today's environment. But this is why I say things are changing. Right? So it used to be external pressure, right, was how it worked, right? External pressure was the realtor, right, was the buyer, the seller. I mean, the seller is who we're talking about, but the seller would have external pressure because it's like, well, I only have one offer. It's been on the market for 4 months. And I finally got an offer, so you should really accept it. Yeah, but it's $40,000 less than I wanted. Right? External pressure. Right?
That's right.
Unfortunately, what happened was, just like the presidential candidates right now, the presidential election right now, there's things that are happening that have never happened before. Right? Like candidates getting into candidacy without ever being voted in.
Yeah.
Right? This is new stuff, right? Now, I'm not saying right, wrong, or different, however you believe. Point is it's new stuff.
That's never happened. That's never happened before.
The world is like that. We have a lot of new stuff happening, right? And we're making leaps and bounds for much different ways to live, right?
Yeah.
So just understand that. That's my opinion. You don't have to believe anything I just said, right? Now, internal tension is created when you start to ask sellers the right questions and allow them to develop their own belief and thoughts about their problem. Now, I've talked about this before, but I have a little bit different approach on this towards the end of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So that was our presentation model. We would kind of go in, flip our charts, give them statistics, give them, testimonials, and we were kind of the only one in the room. Now, Pete, I would like for you to confess to our audience. When we were doing that, how many people were giving them offers like us? When we would sit in a living room with a presentation pack, how many other investors like us were giving them an offer or talking to them?
I think none.
Yeah, or one.
None, yeah.
Okay,
but the numbers were, even when it was one, the numbers were quite different. It wasn't the same as us.
Right.
What we're doing was different. They were always flabbergasted. Like, what?
Yeah.
We explained how it really works, how the numbers really happen, how it really turns out, and they had no idea. No one explained it. They were appreciative and flabbergasted.
Okay, now let's take your phone calls from yesterday. How many people told you yesterday that they have more than one person, one investor that's talking to them or interested?
Oh, they're getting hammered.
Okay, so give me an example of a quick conversation where somebody told you that.
Well,
I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but
yeah. Well, I'm either talking to somebody who maybe sometimes they're landlords and they want to keep the properties, they're happy with it, whatever. But the other one's like, oh, I got an offer. They're telling me these offers they get. But the interesting thing is, well, it's a really high offer. Yeah. Do you have anything in writing?
Right.
Yeah. Did they call you back later?
That's what we say to them. That's how we break that, because a lot of times we'll hear, I get 4 or 5 people a day calling me. Right. So this is what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about in the presentation model. Right. It's pressure. Right. There's a lot of people calling.
Yeah.
We never had that before. For 30 years, I never had that.
Calling. They get postcards in the mail.
Right.
I get them. Everybody gets them. Right. Offer on your house. Like, what? It's not even for sale, and they're trying to buy my house.
So the front door doesn't get opened. This is like a door knocker coming to your front door. Some people don't even answer the door. They ignore them. But if they do open the door, they crack open the screen door a bit and they chat and they don't even let them in the house.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does internal tension get created? Because internal tension is created when we start to ask sellers the right questions and allow them to develop their own beliefs and thoughts around that problem. So going through time, we changed about COVID time, right?
Yeah.
And we moved into the consultative type of deal making, right? And the trouble with that was, and still is, when you ask logical surface level questions, you get logic surface like answers.
Oh, like on the surface, yeah, not real.
It's
not
logical.
deep, just,
it's logical, right? Yeah. So let me give you a question. Let me give you an example.
Uh-huh.
What's the number one challenge in selling your house today? That's going to generate a logical, well, because, you know, the interest rate is up. Or the number one answer, they hate to hear this.
Yeah.
The realtor sucks.
Oh. And that hasn't changed. And that hasn't changed.
Well, it has changed because almost 40% of the market, according to my calculations, are selling without a realtor right now.
Oh, yeah. They've moved on from sucks to like, I don't have to have the realtor.
Another question that is logical and surface level is, what are the two things keeping you awake at night about this house? Now, I will tell you that I give you one that's very popular, but when I give it to you, it's with a follow-up question, so it changes. But the question is, if I had a magic wand and I could wave it over your deal, what would you ask for?
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to have a good follow-up question, like, how did you think that was going to happen? Or tell me more. Right. So that's another story. But you ask these type questions, you get a logical surface level answer. It's a rote answer.
Yeah.
Like this. Let's do a little. Let me. I'm going to do a little role play with you without talking to you. Right. Hey Pete, how are you today? Oh, I'm good. Yeah. How's everything going? It's going pretty good. Yeah. I'm doing really well. Yeah. Okay. So what's happening? What do you mean what's happening? Well, you know, what are you up to these days? Oh, I've been playing golf. You know, the weather's been really good. I've been working in the yard. Right. All surface level type talk. Right. It's fake. Actually, it's not fake. It's logical. It's not emotional.
Yeah. I don't think all the answers are real. I had somebody walk in my house. I said hi. He said, "Good. How are you?"
Yeah.
So they're not always even listening. It's just like standardized answers thrown back.
It's just rote. It's just like a robot.
Hey, Bill, what's up?
Yeah. It's like you push a button. You remember the old Staples, office supply store Staples?
Yeah, yeah.
I think they're all over the country. I know they're definitely all over the East Coast.
Yeah.
And they used to have that advertisement with the button, said easy, and you would push the button.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So we know that all decisions are made with logic, right?
Hopefully. They're supposed to.
I did that backwards. No, because all decisions are not made with logic. They're made with emotions, right? People make decisions based on their emotions and they justify it with logic.
Yeah, they use it.
I read that backwards. I didn't mean to trick you like that, but
okay.
All decisions are not made with logic. No, they're made with emotion and it's justified with logic. Let me give you an example. You wake up in the morning, right, with severe back pain. Let's say it's your third morning in a row.
Yeah.
You think to yourself, maybe I should go to the urgent care or clinic for some medicine, some pain reliever, right? Next thought is, I wonder how much that's going to cost. whether you got insurance or not. How much is the copay? How much is it going to cost? Whatever, right?
Sure.
But then you meet the doctor who starts asking pointed questions. What does the pain feel like? Is the pain focused in a specific area?
Mm-hmm.
How long have you had the pain? What is the pain doing to you? What is the pain preventing you from doing?
Mm.
Right?
Yep.
These are the questions that come off logic and start to penetrate internal tension that will get you to think you have a bigger problem than you originally thought. So they're working you through the process of how is this going to happen? How am I going to get rid of this pain?
Yeah.
Is he gonna tell me I need an operation? I know many people that are very close to me. They will automatically go to, I have cancer.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I have cancer. I need to go to the doctor. I have a pain. I better go check, make sure I don't have cancer. Jeez. I have two people in my life like that. Right? This is why you never sell anyone what they think they need. As a copywriter, as a retired, recovering salesperson, you need to do the correct discovery to really help them.
So you said you never sell them what they think they need? That's what you said.
That's
right. What
they
think they need, yeah. Because if they knew what they needed, they wouldn't need you to talk to them.
So
you have to dig.
Just a basic law without getting into a whole thing about it.
Yeah.
Honest to God. And I could talk about this for 10 episodes. The book, I think, is what is the hell is it? Dan Sullivan wrote it. Thinking about my thinking.
Oh, right. Yeah, I got that one. Yeah.
Thinking about my thinking.
Like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking now?
Right. Here is a simplistic datum that you will definitely have trouble implementing. It is the hardest thing to do as a human being. But if you do it, it changes your life.
Mm-hmm.
Confront. Mm-hmm. Confront means head on, face on, balls to the wall, get to it.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Just run into it. So problem means you have one idea, something else has another idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have an idea that you want to have pasta for dinner tonight, and I have an idea I want to have steak for dinner tonight, and we are together in a hotel at a convention, and we have to eat together, or we're supposed to eat together. We don't have to, but and right away problem starts. Problem starts for me because you want pasta, and it starts for me because I want steak.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So it's one idea facing another idea that's opposite of your idea, usually.
Yeah.
Okay. What happens is too many of these things happen in your mind, and they stay there, like they have residence, like it's a physical thing, as if it was like a snowball in your mind, and it's just there, getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
How about a log jam?
A log jam, that too.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm being too profound. Here's my point is if you confront it, if you just look at it for what it is, it will blow.
Yeah.
You will come up with something to make it happen. So confront is the most amazing thing that a human being could do to live a wonderful life. If you confront everything every day, right? and just handle it. This is the reason why people have trouble with their finances. They don't confront them. They don't go online and check their checkbook balances. They don't have a checkbook balance. They just hope they make enough money so that they can just do whatever they want, whenever they want. And there you go. Mm-hmm. My mother told me, she was here to visit me for a week. It was the best, worst thing that ever happened to me.
Okay.
She left and we're at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm taking her to the airport. You know what she told me?
What?
I really have decided, after she spent a week with me, I really have decided that I like my life having no responsibility.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's in independent living, and she sits in a room and watches TV all day long, and they cook for her, they clean for her, they do everything for her. And she's got aches and pains and thinks there's nothing wrong, and she complains all the time about how she doesn't feel good.
No.
Right? I don't know why I got off on that tangent, but what I think the reason why is because what we're doing by this internal pressure type thing, or this internal tension, is we're getting the seller to confront their situation in baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm way off base here, but I'm going to say one more thing, and then I promise I'm just going to go right back to script. Let me see what time here. So there is something that I do in marketing that is not very popular.
Okay.
And I've just recently articulated it because I've spent the last 2 or 3 weeks, probably the last month, really internalizing, because I want to make some changes. I want to do some things, right? And I'm not happy with my progress since I've been back on my sabbatical. Back from my sabbatical, which was in May. It's now August. So I'm just going to tell you this because it very much makes sense to what we do. And I'm going to get back to the podcast, and you're going to see how it all works, okay?
Sure.
If you were to look at a triangle, the top of the triangle, the top 3% of the triangle are people that are ready to buy a product.
Huh.
The next level down, which I think is 67%, I'm not sure of the numbers. The next level down are people that are aware that they have a problem and they're kind of hunting around for a solution.
Yeah, that's like me looking for a car. Not buying it right now, but I'm starting to look around.
Just investigating, right? You go down a little bit further to the bottom of the scale, which is 30-something%. And those are the people that are not aware they have a problem, but you can kind of rattle them a little bit. And say, that sounds interesting.
I never heard you talk about this before, like the categories.
Yeah. So to relate it, mostly I'm talking to you right now, to relate it, like the bottom part of the scale is where when you're talking to somebody, you're just building affinity. You're just saying things so they like you and they keep following you.
Right.
The middle part of the scale is where you do your marketing. That's kind of like, and marketing to me is building agreement. Like, yes, you're right about this, and yes, you're right about that. Like, for example, you could buy real estate without any money down. Or you can control real estate and not own it. These are like building agreements. You're educating the person by building agreements. See, they already have affinity for you. And now when you're marketing to them, they already like listening to you. So now you're just kind of giving them some data about how you think, and you're just building the affinity and giving them more reality, more agreement.
Things that they like, they can agree with, they can use it. Right. If they're thinking maybe this will help me at some point.
The top third, that's right. The top third, or the 3%, is where you communicate to them. And you say, this is what you need. All 3 conversations are different. All 3 conversations are in a different position. Does this make sense?
It does. I never, as a consumer, you don't think of those things. But you see things, you go, nah, don't care, and you go buy it. You look at other things, oh, that might be interesting. You look at other things, oh, I need that. But you never think how it's working on the other side, that you're actually calculating and actually paying attention to who, what, and how you're doing these things.
Right. So I could give examples of this, but I don't want to waste the time. But this is where your seller's at.
Yeah, that makes sense.
right? So they're at the bottom and they're thinking, I know the bubble's really high. I should probably look into selling.
Yeah.
To the middle category, I got a job transfer and in 3 months I got to get a new house.
Yep.
To, oh my God, it's 2 weeks away and I haven't sold my house. I need to do something. You see? So that's a whole nother theory and a whole nother way to think about a sale. But what makes me different with my marketing is, like, for example, one of my partners, he's constantly going after the 3% that are ready to buy.
Yeah. He wants to deal now.
I believe the 97% needs to be cultured and needs to be grooved into how you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I give this I say this and I promise I'm going to move on. I used to consult automotive repair shops. I travel 45 weeks a year. I remember one time being out west, and some guy told me he lived in Arizona that had 100 people in his town, in the middle of the desert.
Right.
So I thought about it, and here's my analogy. So if I'm a plumber and I live in this town that has 100 people in it, am I going to market to the 3 people that might need plumbing today? Or am I going to market to the 97 people that don't need marketing? I'm sorry, that don't need plumbing. Like, for example, the 97% might be send out a newsletter, right? I mean, for 100 people, you can walk around and put it in the mailbox for that matter, right?
Yeah.
So
between jobs.
So you could market to them, hey, in my newsletter, you could say, here's how to prevent your hot water heater from blowing up and making me come out and change it. And give them a bunch of tips on how to make their hot water heater last. Or here's a tip on how you can save on your water bill. Or here's what you could do to your toilet so it doesn't break and make me come out and want to fix it. So you're building a constant communication with them. You're building affinity with them. You're building agreement with them so that when it's time for them to need a plumber, they're going to be, oh, I got to go to Joe. He sends me all those things all the time. He's such a help. You see how it works?
Sure. Okay. It makes sense.
This is how we need to cultivate our sellers.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's carry on. So I was talking about you don't sell someone what they think they need.
Right.
Okay. So a perfect example is that seller says, I need all cash. Do they need all cash?
Not necessarily.
What do you mean not necessarily?
Well, no.
It's a hard no.
Yeah.
Why do they want the cash to do something else? So this is kind of like the old saying, the guy walks into a hardware store and he's looking for a drill bit.
Yeah.
Right? What does he want, a drill bit or does he want a hole?
Yeah.
Right?
What do you want the drill bit for? But the thing is, there might be a better way to do, like, oh, I need glue to blah, blah. No, you don't need to do that. You do it this way. You might find a better way to do it.
Right? So it sends most rookies down the road of asking the wrong questions. They automatically get defensive with this. They want all cash. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, and I promise you, I'm going to hit a home run with podcast episode 423. I'm going to hit a home run, and I'm going to talk about it there. But the point is that we could do a 90-day option agreement with these sellers and give them all cash within 90 days and still be a creative real estate deal with no money down and no risk. Okay. And we're giving that up. Okay. So you ask them questions. These are the bad questions that creative real estate investors ask when somebody says, I want all cash. So is cash the only way you'll sell? Can we talk about terms? No, I don't want terms. I want all cash. I just want to get rid of it. I want it out of my name. I don't want to deal with it. So what did you do? You went down the wrong path. Right? How about this question? Do you know your asking price is $400,000, but the market value is only $350,000? Right?
Disagreement.
Exactly. If you here's another one. If you give it to the realtor, what do you think they will do? these questions or this type of talk or speak or conversation actually triggers resistance, like you just said, and makes creative real estate entrepreneurs start to believe that creative real estate doesn't work, or you have to work harder or call more leads or clock more hours on the phone to get deals. How about this one? I hear this one all the time. This doesn't work in my area, Bill.
Oh.
And then the last example, which this is what, because you're asking the wrong questions, because you're doing this incorrectly, this is what's happening to you, right?
Yeah.
I can't find any prospects in my area. I should find another area to work in. There's no motivated sellers in my area.
Oh boy, we've heard that a lot.
Mm-hmm. So enough with the outdated old models. Let's go in for the home run. We're sliding into home base. By the way, I can't wait to talk to my son-in-law. I guess the Yankees did a wonderful play yesterday. I heard they got anyways. I don't know why.
Oh, seriously, baseball.
Yeah. The Yankees yesterday, they had a double. They got two people out. It was an amazing. I saw it on the news. It was amazing. My son-in-law is big into the Yankees. Okay, enough getting off track here. Outdated models. Poo-poo. No more. Mm-hmm. Today's functioning model is the dialogue approach. Dialogue approach. We are most persuasive when we get others to pull us in and persuade themselves. Mm. So pull us in means request to talk to you. Mm. They're initiating the conversation. Yeah. Now, Pete, just as a side note, how many times have we talked about in the last year? I wish we could go back to the old days when we put signs out and people would call us up on the phone and we would do the prospect suspect form and we would make deals. Wish we could do that.
Shall be nice.
Right? Yeah. Instead of texting people and invading their lives and interrupting their day to talk about something that's not even on their mind, because we definitely are not in the conversation in their head. Mm. We're trying to start a new conversation. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been practicing this.
What?
This concept.
Yeah.
So I tell my mother, who's 81 years old, was married to my dad for 61 years. He's dead for a year and a half. I'm provoking her to get a boyfriend.
What?
Yeah. She needs a companion. Man. She needs somebody to talk to. She needs to have a life. She needs a reason to live.
Wouldn't it be safer just another nice little old lady?
That don't work. Women together, they kibitz, and they're like old hens, right? So there's this guy named Bob that has this fancy car, right? She says, the only way I'm getting another guy is if his checkbook starts with a B. Right?
With a what?
A B, like billions.
Oh, geez.
She's full of shit. Anyways, so I've been doing this, not having a conversation in her head, because that's nowhere in her thought process.
Yeah.
So I've been just kind of practicing on my mom, like, how do you take somebody that is not even in this, never mind in the circus, not even the same town the circus is in. Yeah. Right? Or the same state, right? She's like so oblivious. So I've been kind of practicing it with my mom. She has no idea I'm doing it, but it's kind of cute to see the process, because it's like, how do you get someone that isn't having a conversation in their head that they want to sell a house to talk about selling their house? Mm. Right? So how do you do this? That's the $1 trillion question. Right?
Trillion.
How much easier would it be if your seller would just make you an offer to buy?
Sure.
Or have motivated sellers just pull you in, like I said before, request to talk to you. Mm-hmm. Even get the seller to sell themselves on your terms.
Boy.
Now, I'm going to disappoint the hell out of you right now. I'm sorry to do this, but I'm going to give you a lot more information. But I promise you, These direct questions are going to be in podcast number 423. I'm going to show you exactly the steps on how to do this because I figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to my mom about her boyfriend helped.
Oh, God.
She has no idea. Right? Imagine overcoming their own objections and rebuttals, and you don't need to do that. The good news is all you need are the questions that I gave to you, right? You need the questions that are intended to bring out your seller's inner truths. They're intended to get the human being into their emotional state. So it causes them to want to open up to you and go below that logical level surface.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you listen to their answers, because that's where the trick is, I've been saying that for years. Now, when you listen to their answers, go ahead.
No, I've heard that even on the news, like they talk about that in debates and in interviews. It's when somebody answers, like you ask somebody a question, they answer you, you have to talk about the answer. Like, well, wait a minute. You have to go into that because there's a lot in the answer to check into, not just take the answer and look at a different question. You're in a conversation.
What's the purpose of an answer?
Purpose of an answer, huh? No one's ever asked me that one.
Right.
Purpose of an answer is to bring it to the next question.
Right.
Did I get it right?
No. Well, sort of. So an answer is a reaction to a question or a statement.
Yeah.
Right. And you're trying to find out what the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is it's a reaction.
And you're looking. You just looked it up, right?
I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I'm talking before I read it. So.
Does it say? What does it say? Did you say reaction? You read that?
No, I'm saying that I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
So I'm reading
all right.
it now.
All right. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, exactly. It says say or write something to deal with or as a reaction to someone or something.
Yeah.
Act in reaction to. That's the one I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to act in reaction to your answers from the sellers. Because that's how you're getting in the conversation in their head.
So
it's by asking a question and then you act in the you act within the conversation already having in their head. You're reacting to that.
So we ask a question, they have a reaction to the question, but then we have a reaction to the answer. Is that what you're saying?
Well, sometimes you react right away. Sometimes what I'll do is I compile the answers and build up, like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. And then at the end, I'll say, well, I can do all of this for you.
Okay.
Right. It depends on how it happens. But the point is the reason for a question is to get a reaction, an emotional reaction.
But then you have to do what you're saying. You have to do something with the emotional reaction that must lead you to something, right?
That's right. Exactly.
It leads you
to the conversation they're having in their head already.
And you're doing this to your own mother.
Yeah. She's my testing ground.
Oh, boy.
When you listen to their answers and then go further with deeper questions, see, the reaction may provoke you to ask another question.
Well, hopefully.
I want all cash. Okay. You ask the question, would you be willing to take terms? No, I want all cash. That's the answer. It provokes the next question. Well, what are you going to do with the cash?
Right.
And that provokes another question. Well, what happens if you don't get all that cash? What are you going to do then? You see?
Right. But also, from what you said a few minutes ago, all cash doesn't mean you have to call a realtor, sell the house, and do it. We can sell it for them.
Yep.
You even have strategies like, well, I can get you so much money for the house. You have so much equity. You can take a loan on the house out and do whatever you need. If they need the cash, how can we get the cash is the real question.
That's right.
Is there other ways to do it?
I promise you are going to fall out of your chair next week.
Well, I'm coming. I'm definitely coming next week.
So when you start getting deeper questions, now pay attention to this.
Okay.
the seller feels understood, they feel respected, they feel validated, they feel like you're confident, they feel like they're getting somewhere.
You know what I'm getting as a real, like a clear idea in my own head here? You talked about external pressure, and that's when, like, I don't need any solar panels, go away. You know, people come to the door, your siding in the house, your roof, go away. You know, you don't want to talk to those people. You don't want to let them in. And this other one is finding what they actually need and actually talking about that, or they don't even let their guard down. They just like, oh, finally, somebody who's listening to me. I can't tell you how many people call on the phone like, hey, you need blah, 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 blah. Nobody even asks the question, do you need any help with your roof? Do you need any help with your driveway? Do you need any? They don't even ask.
Right.
They just start throwing and pitching. No wonder people have their guard up so much.
And that's why the old models that we used to use don't work, because they're like a job interview, or worse, being interrogated. And what they do is they tense up people and close them up.
Yeah.
So the questions we want to ask are over at podcast number 420. Top proven creative real estate questions are where you can start. Now, I didn't make a document that you can download. You're going to have to listen to the podcast. Sorry. And you're going to have to write them down yourself. And of course, our scripts do this as well. Only if you follow them and don't veer off or alter the questions, because a lot of people, which is the most confounded thing in the world to me, right? After all, they've been heavily tested. I've sat with personally in over 4,000 houses, and I've tested these questions. And a rookie comes along and says, I don't think that's my personality. I don't think I should ask the question like that. And they change the question, and then then the system doesn't work for them, and they say, yeah, Bill's system doesn't work, and they go look for another shiny object. Because they alter what they think it should be. The questions, remember, what's the purpose of the question? Is to get a reaction, an emotional reaction.
Yeah.
They've been tested. They are very specific. Even I messed them up. Right? You want to make your seller feel like you're having a cup of coffee or a beer with a close-up friend, allowing for them to open up, be honest, and have honest conversation between you and the seller. Now, you can't fake this. Some people will fake this, right? They'll hype it up and they'll sound too fake.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, if you're trying to do this just for money, just stop. Don't call anybody. You have to have the intention of, I'm probably not going to make a deal, but let me see how I can help this person. Right? Now, your seller begins to consciously and subconsciously internalize what they're saying to you. Their answers help you look at and challenge their own beliefs as to why they keep allowing their present situation to continue. And when done correctly, their answers can give the seller a different perspective. This is what I typically refer to as the enlightenment process. The enlightenment is you're getting them to come up with their answers and their conclusions, right? And make their own decision. Right? My grandson's name is Max, 6 years old, right?
Yeah.
Max, if you ride your bike out there in the street and a car comes along and hits you, I'm kind of curious. Do you think you'll be a pancake or a cookie?
Ooh.
What do you mean, Grandpa? Well, when a car hits you on your bicycle, what's going to happen? Oh, I might get hurt. Okay, so do you think riding in the street is a good thing? That's much better than, Max, get out of the road!
You're going to get hurt.
You're giving him a command to go get hurt.
Yeah.
The seller experiences a very powerful internal motivator that makes them automatically feel like changing their situation and taking action now, because you've enlightened them. The way you enlighten them is by getting the first question answered, and then with the reaction, give them another good question and dive a little bit deep into the emotional aspect of it, come out of the surface veneer and get out of the logical questions and get down into the emotional portion of this, right?
Yeah.
And just ask the skilled questions we've supplied to you over at podcast number 420. You might be pleasantly shocked at how simple the process is. It's dialogue, it's conversation, it's not a script. I have said repeatedly, probably hundreds of times on these podcasts, the last 50 podcasts. To make a creative real estate deal, you need 4 things. You need to know the price, the monthly payment, the duration they're willing to wait, or the term they're willing to wait before they get paid off, and deposit if they talk about it, or down payment if they talk about it. However you get those numbers, whether you get them in 5 minutes or 50 minutes, you use the questions on podcast number 420 to help you get those questions. More importantly, why that price? What's the emotional state? How did you come up with that? How did you come up with that price? Oh, my sister told me I should sell for that much. Oh, really? How does your sister know that that's how much you should charge? Oh, she's a realtor. Okay, so then how come you didn't list it with her then? And boom, you're right there. You might be pleasantly shocked at how simple the process has been and how much it will put you in control of the conversation and make you feel confident. And make it sound like you have truckloads of confidence when talking to these sellers. When in fact, all you're doing is empowering your seller's potential to get the deal done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Pete, I think we've delivered in abundance today. But I think we could help our rookies a little. Okay, yeah. So I'm talking to myself on paper here. So again, I'm going to continue this on podcast number 423. I haven't finished writing it, but I know what I'm writing. So the name of the podcast is going to be. Let me find it here. Oh my goodness. I got a lot of notes here. I promise I have it. Okay, here we go. Here's the name of the podcast. For any rookie not doing creative real estate deals in today's economy.
Wow. Tune in.
So one of the most famous letters ever written, it was an open letter from that's how they start this sales letter. It's one of the best sales letters ever written.
Yeah.
I forgot by who. I forgot by the author. But this is kind of like that. This is like an open conversation, right?
Uh-huh.
For any rookie not doing creative real estate deals in today's economy. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you how to get a deal within 30 days. And I've cut through all the crap. If I just read the podcast, I could probably give it to you in about 25, 30 minutes. But I don't do that because I usually tell my stories. So there you go. So make sure you tune in to podcast number 423. I'm going to thank you very much for being here and listening. I want to thank you for your support. Make sure you subscribe to wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you like us. Make sure you leave a review. And most important, I am on the frontier right now. We're in the frontier of something very new and something very big that I'm not going to talk about here, but I promise you it's very big, going to be very big. In a few years from now, I expect you'll talk about this day if you're here listening. Click on the link in the chat. Sorry, not in the chat, in the description. I always say the chat. Click on the link and head on over to the private podcast. There's only one there. I have another one I'm going to write in the next week or so, and I will be putting them on there continuously. Some of them will be just me teaching you. Some of them will be with Peter and I. I might be helping Peter with something. He might be helping me with something. The point is that this podcast, as of 423 podcasts, was always intended to change your thinking. And when we go over to the private podcast link, that's going to be like how to do it. Mm-hmm. So there's details. Okay? So thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Flourish and prosper. Make sure you click on all the links and subscribe and save us and like us and leave a comment and all that stuff and get into that private podcast. Over and out. Flourish and prosper.